So during this period, I was about 11 years old, 10 and a half and 11 years old. And for some reason, this was the period of time when, for some reason, I had gotten into watching all these classic war movies, The Great Escape, all those Paul Newman stuff, and Steve McQueen, and all this World War II theme, and the heroes, etc. And you have the typical Hollywood storylines and a happy ending, and in a way, war is glorified. Even when they are showing the painful aspect, it is still glorified. This is a time where you can really show off your heroic sides, etc. Anyhow, for some reason, I was into watching those movies during that period, and he. Some people may call it a type of a child abuse. I was very close to my dad, and he was a great person. I mean, he was always my role model. He said, "Let's go to hospital." This is the hospital where he was the director, surgeon, and a director there. And I want to show you a few patients of mine, and I want you to see a few things because of how you have gotten into these war movies. And he took me there, and he took me to this entire section of the hospital that was for the war victims. And he took me inside this one room, and we entered this room. And even before I could see what was lying or who was lying on the hospital bed in this particular room, I could smell. I mean, I could smell like fried food. I could smell like burned meat. As I got closer, I saw this about 8 or 9 months old baby. And he was, they said about he was 80% his body was burned. And he said, "This is war. And I want you to think of this whenever you think of war." Now, we never get to see babies like that on TV when we have our drone strikes during the wars, etc. But one other thing that my father said during this session, and he said, every time you hear, in the news, or you hear yourself, being present there, because we heard some of the bombs that were being dropped during Iran-Iraq war. And he said, when you hear those bombs falling or read about them, think about this guy sitting there and with the little abacus and saying, one bomb, $3.5 million plus for someone, okay? And the cost of playing, because somebody is winning, and you have to always follow the money. Talk about Lockheed Martin, General Dynamics, Northrop Grumman, and Boeing. And they said, okay, here are the money, and we get these, okay? So the survival of these companies, and if you look at the net worth, the value of these companies, and they have tens of thousands of workers, employees, okay? These are gigantic companies. You're looking at worth close to $100 billion each. I mean, you're looking at a massive, massive industry. And their survival, their existence depended only on one thing: fear factor and the fear of wars. Okay, so it's the war industry that is driven by the fear factor. And the fear factor was communism. And as long as we had the fear factor, and as long as we had these monsters, which in this case, Munster, the Soviet Union, the communists, which again is in line with our villains and the heroes thing. We always have to have the evil country. Remember George Bush, the axis of evil, the evil communists, how Reagan was evilizing it. You do that, the fear factor, and you have a booming war industry, okay? Trillions of dollars. And it got bigger and bigger and bigger and just became a monster. And then we had the end of that Soviet Union. We had the end of that communism. And this was the WTF moment for the industry, because put yourself in this industry's position. You're looking at hundreds of billions of dollars of industry, okay, trillions of dollars. The fear factor that communism is taken away, the monster is gone. And we are looking at shrinking war industry, meaning what's going to happen to tens of thousands of workers, billions of dollars of profits, okay? I mean, wouldn't you get nervous? I mean, this is, our existence depended on this monster we created, and our mainstream media, of course, on the forefront, pounding it, making it a really big, scary monster. Gone. So you look at the graph and then you look at the expenditure. You know, the built up during Reagan era, going up and up. We're going to outspend them, man. We're going to bankrupt them. We're going to spend. Well, yeah, we outspent them, all right. And they're gone. Then look what's happening to the war industry. Look at those companies between 1991, 1992 till about 2001. The expenditure is going down. You're looking at some really, really, really nervous people. They're sitting and saying, this was a great monster that we created. This was a good monster to pump up and create the fear factor around it. But next time around, we learned a lesson here. We are not going to make the same mistake. We're not going to take a monster that can be taken out like this, you know, with the Soviet Union's fall, with the Berlin Wall coming down. We need to create some kind of a monster that we never have this kind of a risk with, something that can go on forever. Because it's an abstract, because it's invisible. One day it's in Mali, the other day is in Sudan, it's in Iraq. Oops, they are in the caves in Afghanistan. They are in the deserts in Yemen. I mean, they are all over the globe. And how many of them are there? Who knows? Maybe 100 million, maybe 100. Nobody can put a number in them. How do you identify them? Where are their bases that we can go fry and bomb, and it can never be destroyed? Yet, these invisible, it's like amoeba, you know? We still take the traditional planes and traditional bombs and drop them in there, even though we have already concluded they are like amoebas, right? Because there are caves in Afghanistan. I believe we bombed every single cave in Afghanistan at least 186 times since 2001. Because if you look at the airstrike numbers in Afghanistan, you're looking at, I don't know. And they said even 7-8 years ago, they said there are no more Al-Qaeda left in Afghanistan, right? Then for some reason it turned into Taliban. And these airplanes have been going every day, and we have been dropping 50 to 100 bombs there on these caves. Go back, hit the same cave again. We've been really cave hitting in because there is no Pentagon or equivalent of Pentagon in Afghanistan. There are no military bases. There are no planes. There are no tanks. There are caves. So we go out there and then we throw 50 bombs a day. We say, let's go hit some caves, man. Now, the thing is, going back to my dad's line of thinking, saying, now think, every one of those bombs that they drop on the caves, how much is it? $3.5 million? I know there was a report published about the cost of each bomb and just the fact, the logistics of taking that airplane, you know, moving there, dropping in there. You're looking at several millions of dollars for each hit, right? Every time that goes, the guy with the X there goes up, $5 million more. For who? $5 million for who? More for who? Well, go back again to the post-Soviet. This happened. We needed to have something without walls like Berlin walls that could come down. So we had this period of 10 years for this industry to say, we need to survive. We need to exist. Our existence is going to come to end. Because what you're going to do, you don't have a big monster enemy and a perpetual war out there. Your inventory is full, okay? You've got 180 tanks and you have 275. You have enough. So there's not much need left for more production. Things are sitting there rusty there. And this is going to shrink. This trillions of dollars industry is going to shrink. And this is why you look at that very important document, the letter written and signed, PNAC, the Project for a New American Century, okay? Then look at the signatories, okay, of PNAC. And then start looking at their backgrounds and see who they are on board of advisory of who. They are part of board of directors of who. These people's existence really doesn't depend on the government, working for the government or having titles, whether they're vice president or that they are the defense secretary. It's none of those. Look at their ultimate bosses there. And look at the ultimate benefactor there. So beneficiary here is the military-industrial complex to a large degree. And they suddenly like, this is what we need. We need to Go back to our plans. Now the Soviet is gone. We need to establish the United States of America as the global power. We are looking at the definition of an empire, basically. We want to be the empire. And the world is our field. We want to take over everyone, okay? With the Soviet gun, this is our opportunity. However, for that to happen, we need something really massive here because people have been happy in the States. They're like, okay, Soviet is gone, communism is defeated. And as you and I were talking, James, when we are looking at that graph with the profit, with the defense expenditure falling, and this is during Clinton administration. And if you look at the US, the last half century, this is the only time or the longest period of time when our economy actually had surplus. You know, we've been always bogged down with all the deficits and everything. Look at the surplus period coinciding with end of the Cold War and the war machine not working really good. It's like they were on a vacation. they were exhausted after all this Cold War, and they were regrouping. They were coming up with their plans, including PNAC, including NATO Plan B, to say, this is not acceptable. Let's replace what we lost with something bigger and better and unending, something that could never be defeated. We will never, ever, ever be able to say, we today, on March 18, 2026, today we won the war on terror. We executed with our drone the last terrorist in the world. You know, of the 7 billion, we pinpointed every single one, and the last terrorist is dead. People, TSA is going to disappear. We are going to bring all our troops home. We're not going to bomb the hell out of people. We're going to, whatever money we have, surplus we have, we're going to spend on people. Can you imagine a day like this? When we come out and declare the end of war on terror, we eliminated the last terrorist on planet Earth. Well, that's for the military-industrial complex. And if you go back now and look at that graph and see what has been happening to that industry since that day, 9/11. And this is humongous. This is the largest it's ever been. And if you look at the graph, look how steep it is. So we don't have a graph that says, yeah, we had some period during the first 2 years, we were bombing Afghanistan, Pakistan, and the Iraq stuff. And then most of the, look, I mean, Bin Laden has been what, 1.5, 2 years? I mean, it's been going like this, up. Look at the number of wars we have been engaged. And if you start, and it's very easy to speculate, it's going to end up getting more and more. I mean, we have also these so-called secret wars that are not really secret, you know, whether it's Somalia. What is it? I mean, when did we declare war on Pakistan? Did we ever declare war on Pakistan? So what's the deal? Why are we bombing Pakistan, a sovereign nation, a supposed sovereign nation, day in, day out? And when did we declare war on Somalia or Yemen? We don't even need to declare war anymore. We just go and make war. And if we don't find some people on their donkeys crossing the desert to hit, we'll hit the cave. There must be more caves out there until we get out of the caves.
It is so ridiculous, isn't it? I mean, it would be funny if it wasn't just so tragic in so many ways, but